Speaking on Sky Sports, Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers compared his situation at the club to that of someone going around shopping with no money in their pocket. Back in 2016, Leicester City shocked the entire world when they lifted their maiden Premier League title. Buoyed by the presence of some phenomenal talent and the tactical genius of Claudio Ranieri, the Foxes defied all odds. 6 years on, and they are at the bottom of the table with 0 wins and just a point to show for their efforts. And while there have been instances where they have shown that they're not just another relegation-stricken side, Brendan Rodgers' men are in big trouble. The summer transfer window was a forgettable experience. It was the first time in recent memory where the Foxes did not make a single signing. On top of that, they lost their most talismanic leader in Kasper Schmeichel, who left to play in League One. But if that was not enough, star defender Wesley Fofana, who had only recently signed a contract extension, left to join Chelsea in the last few days of the transfer window. The French defender's late departure meant that the club did not have enough time to find a suitable replacement. It is befuddling to see how the club have behaved this summer. Normally, you would see Leicester make shrewd signings and make arrangements for a new season in a very wise manner. This time around, though, there has been no work done on that. At the same time, star players such as James Maddison and Youri Tielemans have not agreed to extending their contract and are likely to leave as free agents next year. Financial troubles. It is very surprising for us because normally Leicester have been one of the most well-run clubs in the Premier League. Their commercial deals have always been on point, and they've always made sure not to stretch their budget thin. Unfortunately, the owners, King Power, are no longer investing in the club. According to Off the Pitch, Leicester have incurred annual losses of £119.5 million, which is the highest of any club in the league. Wout Faes was signed from Stade de Reims for £15 million only because of Fofana's departure. The pandemic hit pretty much every business on the planet, and King Power Group was no different. With their revenue dwindling, the ownership decided to opt for a thrifty approach and stopped supporting the manager altogether. Transfer mistakes. But we can't blame Leicester's troubles solely on the owner's inability to pay up for new signings. Part of the blame also lies with the sporting decision-makers. Knowing fully well that Tielemans will not be signing an extension, there was no willingness from the club's side to sell the Belgian international. Selling the midfielder would have raised some much-needed funds. Ademola Lookman played for Leicester on loan last season and did well. The Foxes had an option to sign him permanently for £15 million. However, they played the waiting game, and eventually the Nigerian got sick of it and decided to join Serie A side Atalanta, where he has already become an undisputed starter. Sack and inevitability? Let's be honest here. Regardless of what's happening at any club, the buck stops at the manager. Whether it's poor management, dwindling finances, or divisions inside the dressing room, it is always the manager who gets the boot. Such is the harsh reality of the game we love. Brendan Rodgers has not done himself any favors either by talking about his misery throughout the summer. The Scottish tactician has openly admitted that he never had any money to begin with. And while he has not been disrespectful towards the owners, he has highlighted the reason why his team has struggled this season. On top of that, performances haven't been great either. They have just a solitary point on the board, having conceded 16 goals and are rock bottom in the league standings. And while we can assume that zero activity in the transfer market has led to this, we would be lying. If we look at Leicester's starting 11, it has some really good players who should be performing far better than they have been this season. They shipped 5 goals against Brighton that was largely due to the defensive mistakes that have been exposed following Fofana's departure. Of course, losing the Frenchman and Schmeichel has amplified these issues. You would still expect them to show slightly more resistance that they have displayed in 6 game weeks. But even if the Foxes continue losing like this, can the owners actually afford to sack a manager? Rodgers signed an extension in 2019 at a time when Leicester were also linked with Mikel Arteta. Offloading the former Liverpool manager is going to cost the club £10 million in severance, which means that the owners are in quite a fix here. Tactical choices and constant lineup changes have been there for all to see, and hints at a manager who isn't sure what his best team looks like. Sacking Rodgers might be a gamble. It could help improve results, or might backfire. It is clear that Leicester cannot afford a manager like Mauricio Pochettino, who is going to cost a lot of money. the easiest man to hire would be Sean Dyche, who did wonders at Burnley on a shoestring budget. However, the English tactician's football philosophy might not be in tune with the work that has been done at King Power Stadium. For all the talk about Rodgers bearing a striking resemblance to a dead man walking, he still has a couple of games to turn the tables. But will he be able to do that? We're not too sure. So guys, this was our take on what's happening at Leicester. Why do you think the Foxes are performing so poorly this season? Let us know in the comments. And before you go, do check out our video about England's chances of winning the World Cup this year.